Ooh, okay. We're gonna try this. I've been setting up a lot of stuff in the background, and I'm not sure all of it's gonna work, but I'm gonna try to do more of these and stream to TikTok and stuff like that, just to have something to do and give me an excuse to paint. Because if it's not content, I don't get to it as often as I'd like. So, first of all, hi everybody. How you guys doing? How's everything? Let me know if things sound okay. Music might need to be turned down a tiny bit. I don't know. You tell me. On the screen are 60 clan rats. These little guys are not too darn complicated. If I tap, let's see if it autofocuses. Autofocus. So yeah, these guys aren't too terribly complicated, but the problem is there's 60 of them, and they all have there's a specific set of models for each unit. Each unit is 20, right? And I'm trying to get these all done by the 3rd. I also have a dragon to paint. There's tons of stuff to do. So I guess, okay. So let's do this. Let's organize these rats so that I can start, and then we'll get a base coat going. And I'm just going to break down what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be doing a couple of different methods. One is just basic airbrushing, just kind of speed airbrushing. I've got just a super basic Amazon airbrush. It's a Nadeco. That's not really a brand name, but you know, it's like $40, and it's been very, very nice, and came with a bunch of accessories and stuff. And I'm going to be using a 0.2 millimeter nozzle, so we're going to get real close. I don't know if they make them smaller than that. First of all, let me fix that chat, because I don't like the way that looks at all. Holy shit. Boop. Oh yeah, no, that's bad. Boop. Yeah, that's terrible. That's the default. Okay, don't like that. Let's fix that. How's everyone doing while we're setting things up? Actually, you know what? Let's see if we reset the size, if that fixes it. Reset transformation. Oh my, that's... I don't like that either. Why is it that way? Okay. Is it supposed to be cut off? Am I dumb? This might be for the vertical screen or something. I don't know. So Twitch is doing a new vertical thing, which is great for stuff like TikTok, but I think it confuses things a little bit here and there. Let me fix all that. Okay. Yeah. How many of you guys paint minis at home, or do anything like that? Because I don't play D&D in person, but I would love to paint minis back in Auburn and in Sacramento, just to, like, I don't know, just to have something to do, something creative, considering we don't play D&D in person. Well, we do play Warhammer in person, so I am so backed up. I have so many gray minis, and I'm trying to get them painted. And the clan rats are always the last to get painted because they're cannon fodder. They're meant to be, well, they're meant to be blown up a little. So, you know, they're kind of mistreated a little bit. So on the flip side, we have something like Visic Scour, who's in comparison, let me see, yeah, well, he's very large, and he's the centerpiece of my Skaven army now, and obviously I put a lot of time and attention into him, but, you know, you can't do that with every single rat. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be airbrushing and slap chopping. What is slap chopping, you may ask? Slap chopping is a super speedy method where we dry brush, which is a super speedy way of just painting. I'm gonna show you guys the difference while we do these rats. But after we dry brush, we're going to be adding some contrast paint to kind of make things pop. And it's a quick way of doing a miniature that's one of 60, let's say. If you're using clanrats, or you're painting zombies or skeletons or something like that, then you have an army that just has dozens and dozens and dozens of them. I was using Undead Army, and I had 120 skeletons, and I never got them all painted, and I want to fix that. I want to make sure that they, I want to make sure they look nice this time. Okay, come on. I have the lighting adjusted so that you should be able to see what I'm doing while I'm doing it. But if it doesn't work, we'll adjust it as we go. Just let me know. This chat is not. It's not. I don't like it. I'm gonna have to fix it. But it'll be fine for now. It'll work. Anyway. Okay. Let's sort these guys. So we have one bannerman for every 10 rats. So we should have 6 bannermen. I think it's for every 10 rats. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's supposed to be every 20 rats? Am I drunk? Why are there 4 then? You know what? Doesn't matter. These are our bannermen. So, for the most part, these are unique models, right? You'll have some with some kind of long spear, some kind of like a nunchuck club type of thing, and we're just going to pick all those out and then separate them so that while we're painting, these will look somewhat organized. These look similar, totally different. It's dumb, right? And then I'm going to sit here and try to make it look like I really know what I'm doing when... God, I was just talking to Bree about moving back to California ASAP, like as soon as we can. Not just because of, events, but we just miss it so much. We're out in the middle of nowhere in New York right now, Hancock, and it's just, there's nothing going on, There's nothing here. Let's get rid of one of these. Okay, so these, we have, these are freaking different too. Oh my God. I love that they use different models. I really do. It's just, right this minute, it's a bit of a pain. Totally different. Good God. You guys ever do large projects like this? Just something that it looks like there's too much to have like done, even in a week. I'm trying to do most of this in a day just to get these presentable, right? Like, okay. Clanrats. All right. Okay. What we need is room. This might be foolhardy. I'm not sure now. I'm starting to think that this is a stupid thing to do. Because they're almost all different. You know what? Fuck it. We're not doing this. We're not grouping them. It's too much. It's a swarm. It's too much. We are just going to put them individually on here, though. The stupid cat we own broke one of their tails. I dislike her. Never liked her. Oh my god, there's so many to paint. This is foolish. Okay. The goal is to not leave until this is finished. At least in a state where I would not be embarrassed to show up. Because Jameson's very good about, one, picking armies that aren't swarms, and two, having his minis painted. And I love swarms. I love using a goblin deck in Magic. I like big clusters of stuff like that. Also, let me do this. I'm going to, just to make sure I see everything on stream. Hey, okay. Chat's way better over here. Okay. All right. Okay. I'm going to show you guys two things real quick. One, paint palette. So this is going to largely, oh my God, largely be off screen. Let me see if I can just gently shunt all these guys over. Yeah, that's terrible. Okay. We're going to buy ourselves a little space. Just a bit. Just a bit. Now, we're going to take two of the same ones, and I'm going to show you the difference between kind of painstakingly painting each one and slap chopping. And I want your honest opinion on which one looks better, because you would think, sitting here and actually going through and painting every individual line with a nice thick coat of paint would be better. But in a lot of instances, especially in the Warhammer universe, having something look a little spottier or have some patina on it is way nicer looking for the final result here. I think that's a storm vermin. He slipped in. That's a different guy. Hold on a second. That means, aha, I see it. I see it. This is the guy we're supposed to have over here, I believe. Yep. Storm vermin are slightly bigger. Okay. We need paint. So I'm going to pick, let's pick two bannermen, right? That's pretty simple. Two bannermen. Where's the other bannerman? I know there's four. Hold on. 1, 2, 3. Why do you look odd? Why? Whatever. So, two bannermen painted somewhat, relatively the same. So we'll take these two, and I'll show you the difference between standard painting and slap chop. So you two go here. Everyone else, let's take 5. Yeah, okay. So starting with you, let's get in here. Let's really, there you go. You can kind of see details and stuff. So standard rat, this one didn't get a good coverage of black, but we'll make do. We got a couple of little rats at the bottom, and shield, and just the little Skaven logo, and some Just some wood and stuff like that. Nothing crazy. He's got a little weapon here. So, these two. Not a lot of armor to deal with. With armor, you try to use metallic paints. And metallic is a little different to work with than just the regular acrylic stuff. So there's a little bit around the wooden shield and the weapon. And that's about it. A couple of spikes here and there. So this will be pretty darn simple. So, okay. Let's start off. So, when you're doing something like this, you're going to want to do anything underneath first. So, obviously, you're kind of tempted to want to do the banner first, and you can, but especially if you're using an airbrush, which we're going to be using soon, you want to hit all of the brown of the rats, right? So for this project, we probably mix up a nice big batch of like Rhinox hide and a couple of other colors just to kind of make them look a little grungy, and then we can go through and do highlights. So right now, let's do this super basic, just the most basic way we can do this. Give me 1 second. I have drawers of paint, and I need to find the ones I need right now. Okay. So Rhinox hide, I'm using Citadel paint for the most part, but last time we went to the hobby shop, Citadel paint's a bit expensive. It covers very well, and they have an excellent range. Rhinox hide is a nice kind of deep brown, and it's kind of perfect for, kind of get a little light on that. It's kind of perfect for a nice base coat with these guys, and it allows you to go through and use lighter and lighter colors for highlights, whiskers, things like that. Jason, you got to drink water. Oh shit, yeah. Sorry, I forgot to stop those. But you're right. Water's important. So, 2 ways we're gonna do this. Big old tube of paintbrushes, super cheap. I think these cost like $30 on Amazon, and if you take care of them and clean them every time you're done, they last a long time. So let's take one of these, and then we're also going to take a small dry brush. So tiny dry brush, kind of looks like a makeup brush. You could also use a makeup brush for larger projects. And then just a little, I think it'd look better under here. Yeah, just a nice pointed, straight one for this. And we're going to just take a little Rhinox hide here. Whoop, that's more than I wanted, but that'll be fine. And add a touch of water, because what we're going to be doing is thinning that out a bit. You don't want to take raw paint, especially Citadel paint. You don't want to take the paint right out of the pot and cover it. It's going to look lumpy. It's not going to get in cracks and crevices. It's not going to look natural. So you're just going to want to take a crappy brush, honestly. So I kind of take a brush that's beat up like this, you know, just starting to kind of fray a little bit, and give it a little tap of water, and then start blending this. Only use a little bit of water at a time, because you can always add a little bit more, but once you've added too much and it gets runny, then you have to add more paint, and paint's expensive. Each one of the standard pots of Citadel paint cost about $5 to $7 each one. So that's a hell of a lot. It's an expensive hobby to get into, and you could definitely use something like Vallejo or something like that as a stopgap measure. Those tend to be like $2 to $3 a thing instead. So, okay. First way we're going to do this, super simple. We're just going to dab the paint in and cover liberally here. Just kind of using real light strokes. Actually, one second. I have to use the silly hat. Sorry. It's so all this is a little light, and there's 2 sets of magnifying glasses, so you can you can kind of get in and see details, especially right now because I have to keep them kind of far away from my eyes. There we go. And then that way it's still on camera. Look at that. Okay. So you can see that obviously the side that wasn't coated with the Abaddon Black, that's going to pop a bit more because it's only gray underneath. So what we could do is we could do something with light. There could even be like some kind of glowing something to kind of make this side pop a little bit and make sense. But for now, let's just get a nice base coat on here. And if it starts to look a little lumpy, don't be afraid to just take a little bit of water and thin it out. Just the tiniest drop. Because when you're dealing with stuff on this scale, less is very much more. Like, I have spent so much time fixing stuff that I just had raw hubris with, where I tried very hard to get something done fast or take a shortcut, or, you know, I end up redoing it anyway, and then it costs you more money because you got to buy more paint. Sorry, I'm going to move this camera down a little bit so that you can see a bit more of what I'm doing. I have to keep this far away from my eyes this way, but so every bit that's exposed, there's a little bit of knee here, so we're going to do that too. And I don't know how much you can see detail-wise, but if we get really in there, right? So let's say we autofocus a bit. There we go. So you can see here. I'll use this as a. So you can actually see in here where there's a bit of armor and then the knee and then bare leg. So we got to transition all that stuff. And God, they're very slutty rats. And then there's some bare leg back in here. That's why you want to do all the stuff underneath before you really get started, because just by virtue of having paint on the brush, you are going to nick stuff like these rats down here. This is chainmail, this is like a tabard, and this is a weapon. So these are three different things within millimeters of each other, and you're just gonna, no matter how careful you are, you're gonna nick it. And I don't have steady hands, you can tell that. So we're just giving little touch-ups here, and obviously we're just going to paint over teeth and stuff like that. It's too tiny a detail to go through right now, but that's a last step. I guess if there's another incredibly important tip to give you, don't get bogged down in details when you have 59 rats to go. We hit details last. Teeth and stuff like that are great to hit at the end when you have time. Okay, so we've got, you could barely tell because the brown blends in so well. Let me see if that brightens it up a little bit, tiny bit, maybe not. I don't know. I can turn on the above light, but it's, you know what? Fuck it. Let's turn on the above light. This is a huge LED light I have above me, and it's going to wash everything out, but hopefully get some light down here. So hold on. All right. All right. Well, there's a little shadow, but we can point this away. Now you can see just a little bit more of that brown. And we're going to do one more thing before I show you the slap chop method, which is way faster. Let me get a little red. So normally, let's see here. I'd probably use like a Evil Sun Scarlet, but honestly, I think Mephisto is the way to go here for this tabard. I think that'd look a little more striking because these guys are brown and grimy, very mid 2000s shooter type of look, right? So we're going to take just the tiniest bit. Take that same crappy brush and just take a little bit off the top here. That way we're not wasting paint. And we're going to get a little water in there. Up, 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 So same method. You can also just use a straight brush for something like this. So like if I dig in and grab like this guy, nice flat brush. And you're just going to evenly coat that. You can kind of see how it streaks at first. So that tells you add a little bit more. There we go. And that's a nice even coat. So we can kind of hit this, and it's going to look completely different on the other side because color theory. When you use a darker base coat, it's going to naturally drab this out. I can put 3 or 4 different coats, and it's not going to pop this red after it dries. So you do other things to help highlight it. But a nice dark base coat is good for an army like this because they're kind of grimy. And if you use, it's usually white or black, especially if you're spray painting them. So if you're doing that, black helps with shadows. Black's going to help with that slap chop method in a couple of minutes because it's going to make things look more uniform, and shadows can hide imperfections in things if you miss. If you miss a little spot or a brush just doesn't quite do what you need it to do, it can really help hide that. But white can help make highlights pop, especially if you have a colorful army, if you're doing Space Marines, if you're something like that, where you're using actual like blues and reds and purples, like you want those to pop. It's probably going to behoove you to, to do some white, at least in spaces. And you could probably see where this is popping way more than that side. It almost looks like a different color. This is a little awkward to paint this way, so my brush strokes don't look great, but I'm trying to get them all on camera. I'll iterate on this setup as we do these more. I might try to do one a week, something like that. So we've got nice red, right? And you can already see where this side is kind of drying a little maroon, except for the bits that are still shiny, still wet. And this side's going to stay pretty much this color. So we're going to get both of these sides 2 coats. And then I'm going to show you what the slap chop method looks like. When you use thinner layers, everything dries a lot faster too. I could show you my old minis that I practiced on, and God, sometimes I want to dip them in alcohol and just start over, but it's a nice reference point to show where I've come from and how decent at this I've gotten. So that's starting to dry. Always give it time to dry. You're just going to be smearing paint around if you keep applying it and it's still wet. I am speeding through this a tiny bit, but shh. All right, so we got this and we got our brown. Now we're going to try a different method on the same mini over here. First, let's clean our brush a little bit. If you're looking for a really cheap way to do a little paint setup, I do this in front of my computer today specifically for streaming, but I love to watch movies while I do this and zone out. because 2 hours goes by very quickly when you're painting, especially if it's a very detailed project. So once you get that relatively cleaned out and set aside, you too, buddy. So, little dry brush like this. They come in a variety of sizes and go all the way up to something like this big boy. And again, it just looks like a makeup brush. And if you're doing something large, like say vehicles or something like that, God, you need dry brushes. You just need them. If you want to cheap out, you can get makeup brushes. You can get little makeup applicators, little sponges for smoothing out foundation. They work too. I don't know how much cheaper that is, to be honest, because makeup stuff's also kind of pricey. But you are definitely going to need it. Hey, thanks. Stream's a little hokey looking today because like I'm still just using my phone and this camera, and it's kind of working. So we got base brown and red for this banner. Now I'm going to just show you dry brushing really, really fast because it gives it a different look. If you can see, let's see how deep. There you go. You can see the texture of the mini itself. Every mini has a texture. It's just a little, it's the finest grit, right? So what you're doing when you're dry brushing is you're taking advantage of that. Now, this has the same grit to it, but when you use, like this could even use like one more hit. It's kind of striking. It's a big, it almost looks like Superman's cape tattered, like the Doomsday fight type of thing. So this has a completely different look, but you would go through with some contrast paint and kind of fit in these little dimples right here. And that's totally one way of doing it. If you want a bit more tattered or ratty for this, we're gonna try a little dry brushing. So you just want to lightly cover the tip of the brush in the same paint that you were using before, and we're just gonna start taking most of that paint off. And then you can kind of check on your skin to see, and it's mostly coming off. So then you're just going to swipe in one direction. Usually this works better for metallics or armor or something like this. I'm trying it on this just because I want to see what happens when we add a contrast paint to this. It's going to be a different look for sure. Because this is black, it's kind of eating it up a little bit. So what's going to happen is anytime you catch it on a raised bit, it's going to start to slowly make that pop, especially like say that little hole there. If you got really deep in, you can kind of see where that's going to start making that pop a bit. And you always kind of want to swipe in the same direction. Otherwise, you can smear it, you can, and again, this isn't going to be the same striking thing as like armor. Like I can definitely show you that a little later, and that pops way better on camera. So man, I wish I could turn the light on for this phone, and man, that would help a lot. Let me see if I could do that in Droid Cam at some point. So far, you could just kind of tell, right? So what we do is we go over this with a contrast paint, and that under here would still pop, and then the contrast paint kind of brings that out and highlights it. Let's also... There we go. So let's also try that with the brown. Let's just... So the setup here, all this is a fabric swatch I got from Walmart for $5, and you can fold it over and over, and it's nice to not have to worry about getting anything on the keyboard or anything like that. Wow, that doesn't pop on camera at all. I don't like that. Okay. So here's what we're gonna do, because this isn't getting us as done as I'd like, and there are still 58 more rats, and we're not even done 2 of them. So we're gonna start airbrushing a little bit, and then I'll show you guys the slap chop method a little bit more at some point. But let's make some headway with these guys, and we're gonna start. Oh my god. Okay. We're just going to make an assembly line here, right? So, first of all, oh my god, I do need, oh man, a mini halo light would be great, wouldn't it? Shit. Okay, let's do this. Let's try to, let's try and do this. That's, like if I did that, yeah, that might be a little better. Okay, so airbrush. So we can move our paint palette right now, and we can come back to that in a little bit. It's a wet paint palette, so all of our stuff will still be intact. Let's try to focus stuff up. Yeah, okay. That's not bad. All right. Oh my god, so many rats. All right, so we're going to try and paint some of these and then put them off to the side. We're going to choose a color. We're going to go with Rhinox hide for now. I'm going to mix up a little batch of that, and then we are going... Okay. We're just going to blaze through, and then we'll hit things like shields and weapons with a slightly lighter brown, and we'll just keep going. So let's test to make sure we got a good airflow. Make sure there's no clogs. All right, you can see that that's just water. All right, so airbrush thinner. I recently made a big jug of airbrush cleaner. Airbrush cleaner is very expensive. Thinner is... you could see how weathered and old this bottle is. This has lasted me like 4 or 5 years. I got this back in like Sacramento because it only takes a couple of drops. It's you would use that for an airbrush, not the palette. The palette you can use water. It's a little different for an airbrush because especially for metallic paints, they're a bit more viscous. They're a little clumpier, and if you take the cover off here, you can just barely see that needle, right? Let me see if I can focus in on that. No? Maybe not. Oh, that just switched cameras. Back. There we go. Anyway, you could just barely see that needle, and paint will start clumping up on that. And it's so small that you only need just a tiny clump of paint, and it really messes your day up. So when you're taking off or putting something like that on very carefully, it's easy to bend a needle, and then you gotta take it all apart and get the needle out of there because it's no good if it's bent. So we're just going to take, for this, a few extra drops of airbrush thinner. That's way more than I would usually use. It probably, yeah, there you go. You can see how much. And then we're going to add Rhinox hide to that. We don't need a ton. There are 60 rats, but they're tiny, tiny rats. So. Clump, clump, plop. That should be plenty, honestly. So. And we take our beat old paintbrush and we just kind of give it a nice stir. And you can see if it's too, God, that I need a light. Yeah, that should be a good consistency. And then we just take all that out of our paintbrush and toss it aside. Then we can give it a test. Yeah, so you're going to hear the air compressor every once in a while. So I am actually going to turn up the music and mute myself while I do this first step, everybody. So that was my first paint pot here. And I got about 15 rats like base coated here. So what we're going to do is we're going to zoom in just a little bit more with the camera to give you guys some more detail. Try to get this to focus as much as we can. So when I show you something, you should be able to see it. This one isn't painted yet, but these you can kind of see. My God, I need more light. Yeah, you can kind of see the brown pop. So I'm gonna work on this stream. I'm gonna do these way more often. And oh, dude, Jameson, as soon as you get an airbrush, seriously, you're gonna absolutely love it. There's a learning curve, like everything, but it'll speed the process up so much. Okay, so slightly larger pot this time without having it be, ooh, that's Earthshade. Ooh, we don't want that. Without being something that's going to spill out of our pot. I also recommend you wear gloves while doing this. I don't. I should. Like, I really should. Okay, back to music and painting. Okay. Let's check in here. So okay. Good God. Okay, so I see. Let's do this. Let's turn this off for a minute. I'm sorry about the internet. On this side, I'm not seeing any crashes whatsoever. But it looks like people keep losing connection. So recently, because we live in the middle of nowhere, a company called Archtop Fiber just opened, and I think we're gonna look into them because we need a better internet situation here. So sadly, I might have to call it quits for the day then, because if we're, yeah, geez, yeah, no, I see by the chat that it's happened. It's happened a bunch. No. This isn't complete. I need to know, obviously. If it's not a steady stream, then hey. And I haven't done a painting stream for a while, and the light isn't exactly right. We'll work on that. It's little adjustments, right? Like, camera seems to be fine. We can work on light. We can, yeah, this is almost what we need, right? Like it's not bad. So things about the airbrush, right? With a regular brush, you're going to get more control, and you're going to be able to get the mini closer to your face. Whereas if you're using an airbrush, there's pluses and minuses to everything, right? So okay, let's start with the obvious speed. In what, 20 minutes, I was able to get a quick brown coat on every bit of the rat here. That's not popping like I want it to. We're gonna get a light. We're gonna get a nice little light. Next time we get paid from Patreon at the beginning of the month, I'll get a nice little ring light and we'll set stuff up. So speed is the big one, obviously. It's gonna stretch your paint out, because you're going to be able to water it down a bit, and you're going to be able to you're going to be able to kind of stretch a pot of paint out much further than if you were sitting there with a paint palette, or worse, dipping it into the pot and then just slathering it straight on. We do use T-Mobile. It was the only other option in this area. So it's cell phone internet, basically. It's not great. It's fine. It was better than what we were using before. We were paying $280 for half a gig of internet that we never got. So big mess. If you're using a dual trigger airbrush, like most are, right? There's another plus that people don't usually go over. But let's say, taking my hand right here, we do a little test paint right here. So you can see how shiny that is. So the airbrush works like this. If you press it down, that's just air, no paint. And if you pull back, you're gradually letting more paint in. So I can just do this and blow air over what I've done, drying it pretty much instantly, which is so helpful when painting minis. You can actually, when I'm going over this stuff, I can see it better than you, but I can see what I've missed just by blowing air over it, and then like I can see what I need to work on. So stuff like these flags, it's so much faster to just hit it with an airbrush. Obviously, control is the thing you're kind of giving up. Once you get used to, here, I'm going to turn that compressor off. Once you get used to using an airbrush, you can kind of see where it's almost like drawing. I know where that paint's going to go based on the air pressure I'm using, the size of the needle, and, excuse me, just practice, right? So when you're doing little things like, oh, this arm here, I know just by waving it over, I know where that paint's going to go because I've just done it over and over and over again. Just the repetition of this, you're going to build up a muscle memory for it. It's finicky. That's the thing. There is a learning curve. When Jameson gets his airbrush, like, I'd love to sit, and there's countless tutorials for it online, but it's art. It's not science. The paint viscosity, the pressure that you're using, You need to use enough air pressure to atomize the paint, but not so much pressure that it's just spitting air and then pop, 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 like puffs of paint. It's the tiniest touch can mess stuff up. You have to clean things thoroughly. If you rush the job and then don't clean out your airbrush, you're going to spend your next session taking apart the airbrush and cleaning it. And trust me, God, I know this. Please. I mentioned that I made a gallon of airbrush cleaner. Kind of looks like a windshield washer cleaner, right? And that probably saved $200 just based on, yeah. Let's see, Jason L, I have something hilarious to show that. Oh God. Okay. Could you airbrush a wizard into the side of a van? No. Stenciled? Yes. I can't freehand. I can't draw. I can't draw anything. So this is as close to art as I can get. So if you look at something like this, like something like this little guy, again, you can kind of, man, we got to work on light, right? Like here. Nope, it just changed cameras again. Damn it. Hold on. Yeah, so you can kind of see when you get good at stuff like this, there's paint and contrast in the recesses of this gun to give it a bit more character and show off the muck in between the stitching of things. And yeah, no, I'm going to do more of these paint streams. I think I'm going to wait until we can get the damn internet upgraded. So give me a couple of weeks. And I'm going to try to do these like every Wednesday or something like that. Something where I could just sit and hang out. Counted 9 and okay, yeah. Elle can paint or Elle can draw. So yeah. And next time we sit down, I'll have a nice little setup, and we can work on stuff. You know what? I'll even take votes on Discord. Like, what do you guys want to paint today? Something like that. Because I have so many things to paint. Bree asked me to do her army too. So, the polar opposite of the rats. She's doing the Stormcast Eternals, which are these glittering gold angelic figures, and it's fun to paint. This one's not done, but like it's super fun to paint because it's a completely different palette. It's a completely different look. I get to use paints that I don't usually get to use for the rats or undead because they're dingy. They're slimy. They're like, if you compare that again, if you go back to Vizic, like it's a different palette. It's more grungy. It's Halloween. It's, there's pustules and things like that. The most fun I get to do is stuff like they have something called Warpstone, which is essentially in our world, it would be uranium, basically. And they eat it. So it's coursing throughout their bodies, and it's in their guns, it's everything. So they are positively disposable and just the worst little creatures. I love them so much. So, God. Elle's doing trees and stuff. I like Warhammer Wednesday, a little work in progress Wednesday, something like that. So I could also fix things like the chat, and I might test things in Discord just to get things straight next time and get a little ring light. So thank you guys for hanging out. I really, really appreciate it. How am I feeling? Not bad. Pretty good. We got done Dragon Con, which is the last big stressful thing for the year. And it went very, very well. I'm disappointed because the stuff we recorded at Dragon Con sounded terrible. And I did speak to their audio engineer this year, and I basically got the template for how to record straight from their soundboard now that the buzzing and stuff is out of their speakers. So next year's going to be our biggest Dragon Con ever. And if you remember the little countdown clock I had, that's going to be hanging up in the back soon. And we'll be counting down to next year. And all of you have to go. We have a big old ballroom to film, and we're going to be on TV for our live session for the first time, and we need you guys for that. So all you guys, everybody in the Discord, everybody in the chat, come to Dragon Con. We'll work it out. We'll do buses or something like that. We'll figure stuff out. We brought back COVID. Yeah, like to make an omelet, right? A few eggs got to be broken. Also, Patreon. We're doing a bunch of stuff for Patreon. There's a new campaign getting ready to get started for the Frostborn stuff. It's going to be a brand new group, and we're working on that in the background. When we get a little closer to publishing it, I'll let you know. But we're always looking to, get that Patreon going. Obviously build that up. If you guys have anything that you want to see or want to see more of, let us know. And I guess I'm going to get ready and take notes on everything that I need for this stream. Light being a big one. I need something right here that I can adjust for this camera. And yeah, I'll work on that. And all of you guys, thank you so much. I very much appreciate it. And I will see you all next time. Oh, well, that button doesn't work. So I'll work on that too next time. Bye, everybody.